Right, it's a great pleasure to have with us the Finance Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, who's had a rather triumphant day in Parliament. I don't remember the last time when a budget speech was interrupted by people pounding on tables and saying Modi, Modi. And I think I ended by calling it the Santa Claus budget. And why it's a Santa Claus is because there were lots of things that you gave, but sometimes there's good with the bad. Here there was nothing really, no taxes were high, nothing was taken away from anybody, which of course has led to people sitting and scratching their heads and saying, where's the money for all of this going to come from? Is it going to be from buoyancy or from where?
Well, first of all, let me clarify that this government, over the last 5 years, has consistently reduced taxes. Mr. Jaitley increased the basic exemption limit from 2 to 2.5 lakhs. Then he gave a rebate up to 3 lakhs. Increased the investments limit from 1 to 1.5 lakh. Increased the interest on housing limit from 1.5 to 2 lakhs. Brought in standard deduction. So I think this government has consistently kept giving some concessions, some benefit or the other. So there's nothing unique about this budget. All these 5 years we have consistently been delivering to various sections of society, particularly the marginalized, particularly the deprived sections of society, the poor, the farmers, the neo-middle class, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs. It has been a pattern of 5 years. Prime Minister Modi has consistently focused on development, good governance, and ensured that the right of the nation's resources, which rightfully is first of the poorest of the poor, has been respected. I mean, after all, which government ever imagined that they could give 10 crore toilets to our sisters and mothers so that no woman ever has to have the ignominy of not being able to go to a toilet from sunrise to sunset? Which government ever thought that they could take electricity to every home in the country? Which government ever planned that our women and sisters and mothers don't have to cook on diesel, on kerosene or on coal? Which government decided that they will give 6 crore, now 8 crore free gas connections? Whoever thought 50 crore people should be given free health care? So Prime Minister Modi has been a compassionate leader whose first focus has been, let me give a better quality of life, let me give ease of living to my people.
So when you were preparing this budget, and of course you also had to step into it at a fairly late stage with the ill health of Mr. Arun Jaitley, was it something which you kept in your mind that, look, this is the interim budget, elections are coming and I should take care of some of that also? So, there are issues, there have been problems in areas like in the farm sector, problems with the middle class, so I should do something about it. Because at the end of the day, a big package for farmers, package for the middle class.
Well, I must say that the vision behind the budget is clearly Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's. I had the advantage of being continuously guided by Shri Arun Jaitley ji. So both my leaders were involved, were the persons who were guiding the whole process. And I think Prime Minister Modi has always been a person with a very clear vision and a clear mind. When he had embarked on this journey 5 years ago, he had set the ground rules very straight for all his ministers. He said whatever work is in public interest, whatever needs to be done in national interest shall be done now and not wait for an opportune time necessarily. I think elections have come and gone. We've had so many elections. We've never looked at elections and made policy. I had in fact once in some media interaction also mentioned that before one state election there was a decision which could have cost us heavily, badly in the election. Almost all of us in the cabinet pleaded that let us postpone this for a few months so we can do it after some time. Prime Minister said that is not how good governments work. If a thing is good and it needs to be done, now is the time to do it. So for us, even while preparing the interim budget, now it's not that we said next year ki koi chinta nahi hai. Don't bother about next year. Kuch bhi ho, next year dekh lenge. Everything that we have said and done, we have provided for next year also. Wherever we feel we may need more provisioning will be done in the final budget that comes in. But nothing has been kept open-ended. So even now we have provided 75,000 crores next year. Current year also we have provided 20,000 crore for the PM Kisan Yojana. I think this is one government that has shown fiscal prudence like never before in this country.
And the fiscal deficit is still at 3.4%, right? So you've provided 75,000 crores there. You provided 18,500 crore rupees for the income tax exemption. No new taxes visibly that we can see.
Not visibly at all.
At all. So, I mean, sometimes you worry about fine print, but a lot of time has gone by now.
No, I can assure you absolutely nothing.
So despite all of that, it's still 3.4% the fiscal deficit. So the reason for that, I assume, is that the GDP is growing, and as a result, the base is higher, and also, you're expecting a certain amount of buoyancy.
And this nation is moving towards an honest economy. More and more people are finding the virtue of paying their taxes. And I think today I acknowledged with folded hands and very grateful acknowledgement to all the taxpayers in this country who even after this huge change will continue to pay taxes and help us with the resources required. And I'm sure, Vikram, when you pay your tax and you know that there is a leader like Mr. Modi who will ensure that every rupee goes for the right cause, will be used and spent efficiently and honestly, you don't mind paying some tax out of your income. You don't mind that your money goes to provide electricity to a poor man's home, or to give a toilet to a lady. I think the problem about corruption, the problem about leakages, about which a former Congress Prime Minister had almost acknowledged that for every rupee that he sends, 85% is stolen, middlemen take it away, goes in corruption. We have not tolerated that. We have planned our governance from day one in such a fashion that every rupee that you pay out of honest taxes is going to be spent for the welfare of the people of India. And that is why today taxpayers are taking the fact that they are supporting the government, supporting India progress with their taxes in the true spirit that it is meant for.
And that also almost leads me to one of the big ideas in the budget, which of course is what you're doing with the farmers, the direct transfer. And I just want to come to whether that's going to be a systematic change that in thinking. But when you were talking about taxpayers who are paying their money and the need to reward them, one of the reform measures that was there in the budget is you seem to be saying, look, we're going to try and clean up the enforcement of taxation, remove discretion, remove direct interface between tax officials and taxpayers, to make sure that if somebody is paying their taxes, they shouldn't be harassed because they're a taxpayer.
Absolutely. And that is...
And has that been happening, to your view? I mean, that what we used to call tax terrorism is still happening.
Frankly, it is a set of people who have been publicizing this. A set of people who are possibly have some clinks in their past which are coming to fore or which are coming home to roost. Now, I think either they should have come clean. We gave an amnesty opportunity also. We gave everybody an opportunity to come clean on their assets, on their old incomes. If unfortunately they did not use that window, and now all of that data is emerging from the shell companies that we have deregistered, from the data that is collected from all over the country after demonetization, and the data is being mined to find out who had that large stack of cash. Now all of this is helping us enforce the law of the land. Now, would you rather that we don't enforce the law of the land?
No, you certainly
would you rather that we allow people tax evaders to get away?
But your message seems to be that if you're an honest taxpayer and you're paying your tax, you will not be harassed.
Well, look at our track record. This year, I'm sure you must have all got your income tax returns sitting at home. We processed them electronically, and they were automatically generated and dispatched either to your account, or if your RTGS number was not there, through a pay order to your address. 99.54% of all income tax returns through a computer process, algorithm, not human interface, have been accepted as they were filed. Now, can you imagine in India, have you ever heard that 99.54% of all returns, including business returns, being accepted as it is, the refund, if any, payable being paid, and life moving on? And those few who come under scrutiny are also through that algorithm, where it decides if they see an abnormal movement of income, profit, loss, cash deposit in the bank account. Such abnormalities, obviously, the tax department should scrutinize. I think very often we hear an exaggerated version. The tax department has tried to be as less intimidating as is possible. But going forward, we are further strengthening the process, and 2 years from now, there's going to be complete anonymity between the taxpayer and the assessing officer, They will not know each other. They will not know the names or address of anybody. The computer will act like a black box. And
So
the
you
taxpayer,
can't ask for a bribe, in other words. There can
I'm
be no
not saying
corruption, there can be no way out.
well, this government has not allowed anybody to ask for a
But
bribe.
that possibility will not exist.
It'll be completely eliminated.
Okay, you spoke about leakages. Now, as I was saying, one of the big ideas in this is the direct transfer to farmers that you've got. Now, it has been criticized. You've had the opposition saying it's only 6,000 rupees, it should have been much more than that, which I guess ties up with the resource question. But is this a conceptual shift that we are thinking? You've done this in this budget. We heard Rahul Gandhi talking about it a few days ago, talking about minimum income. Are we moving now to a scenario where instead of the subsidy, which is the way we have normally taken care of the poorest of the poor, now it will be by direct cash transfers?
Well, I think this is not at all intended to be a subsidy. We are actually only giving a respect to our farmers who have provided us food security, who have been really the annadatas of this nation. Food production has gone up, food productivity has improved. Today we have surplus of almost all our commodities, and therefore prices have been generally quite low. We are now planning a massive thrust to food processing, to storage chains, for logistics, for export of processed products. And I think we are looking at sustainable solutions for the farmers' welfare in the long run. This initial support of 6,000 rupees every year is basically just a mark of respect that this nation is paying to its farmers.
Is there also a recognition that that's one of the areas where we as a nation perhaps have failed the farmers? For various policies that have been done for a long period of time, there is agrarian distress in large parts of the country which has not been fully satisfied.
Well, I think over the years with land holding getting divided and subdivided, the land owning pattern has changed. We have very small farmers. The number of small and marginal farmers with land holding below 5 acres has gone up significantly. And in this situation, obviously productivity and incomes will take a hit as families get bigger and they divide the land holding. We are seeing that this is an area of concern, and clearly what this government has done in 5 years, whether it is MSP for all the 22 products that are produced, whether it is 1.5 times minimum MSP upon the investment or the cost of production, so you have a 50% over the cost of production price, whether it is the increased procurement under MSP, whether it is giving 100% reimbursement in the event of any loss due to natural calamity, whether it is giving them soil health cards, whether it's giving them information about what products are most eminently suitable for their land, and I can go on and on. We have consistently looked at how to make them both self-reliant as well as have sustainable agricultural incomes, not just doles, not just one-off benefit, but truly something which will last a lifetime.
So that structural change you're saying is something that is required and which has to be done. So
which is being done for the last 5 years.
And that's the reason, and you think that a loan waiver would be the wrong way to go because...
Well, loan waivers
Moral
have never
hazard,
made
another
them... No,
question.
I'm not looking at that. Should it become very necessary in a particular instance? It should also be done. It has been done in the past. But look at what happened in the UPA regime. They gave a loan waiver of 70,000 crores in 2008. They didn't provide a single rupee for that in the budget. In the 2009 budget, nothing was provided. And what did they do? Out of 70, they only gave a waiver to 52,000 crore rupees of loans. It went to about 3.5 crore farmers, which means at an average, the farmers got only some 14,000 rupees or so in that year. Other than that, in 10 years, what did they do for the farmers? Whereas we have a track record of so many things. And now, let's take our next 10 years, we would have given 7.5 lakh crore rupees to the farmers. Isn't that far more sustaining? Isn't that far more beneficial to the farmers? Isn't that something which will help them to create the availability of adequate seed, maybe fertilizer, maybe pay their electricity bills at the right time before each of the harvests? So we are looking at long-term solutions.
Well, I know you had a long day and I'm going to allow you to go, but just one last question, which is on the constant debate that is around jobs and unemployment. We've again heard for the last few days, have been having this entire discussion on what the data is. Is it a crisis? Is it one of the worst periods in 45 years when it comes to jobs? What is your thought process on that? And was that something which was in your mind when you were doing the budget also?
When you read that there was 2% unemployment in this country, you believed that?
in general, I tend to look at all data with
I'm just
some
asking
suspicious.
you heard,
I look at all data with
you've
suspicion
heard of
always.
2% unemployment in this country for so many years, 2%, 3%. It's a question of complete change in the way this country is working. This country works on different people working in different areas across the length and breadth of the country. Small businessmen, people, self-employed people, carpenters, masons, people engaged in the construction industry. There's so many multifarious dimensions of work in this country that the data could never imagine the sudden formalization that has happened in the last 2 years. And that formalization post-demo is possibly not yet being properly understood or captured. The NSSO comes out with data once in 5 years, which is too long a period. The world is changing so fast now. Nature of jobs worldwide are changing. You yourself are coming out with apps which are going to transform news reading or news, the industry of giving news totally. So I think in this changing era, where newer and newer technologies are taking center stage, this government is trying to skill our people in this new age, is trying to bring in data analytics, modern technologies for manufacturing, artificial intelligence. We have a vision which is very futuristic. And our youngsters are really doing us proud. The kind of startups, the new unicorns that we are proud of in India.
So that's why you think the unemployment problem will eventually be solved more than...
I think what they are doing is to try and assess what the real situation is, assess the impact of formalization, validate that data with quarterly numbers, and I'm sure they'll come out with their data. But I respect data. I respect the good work that the CSO is doing. I'm sure they'll come up with more realistic data rather than data which was showing numbers which will look very good. But I don't think anybody in this room would ever believe that.
So you're saying there's a problem perhaps with the numbers?
I think we will wait for the more validated data to come out. Okay. And in any case, can you imagine such growth? Being the world's fastest growing large economy consistently for so many years, having more growth in 5 years at an average than any other government since independence. Is that possible without work, jobs, new employment opportunities? It's possibly just something which is well recognized, that growth is the only way to take the people out of poverty and progress their lives.
All right, Piyush Goyal, I know you have to go now. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Thank you.